So I want to welcome everybody to this call again on behalf of everybody here. Dr. Mark DeBrincat, who is our Vice President of Clinical Strategies here at Vox Life, like a lot of people, started out with this technology to disprove it. And so I know that Mark's story is an incredible one. And without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to welcome my friend and our VP of Clinical Strategies, Dr. Mark DeBrincat. Take it away, Dr. Mark.
Hey, thanks, Terry. So really exciting to be here with everybody once again. And it's been a very busy time for Vox Life with all of our new products that have been released. It's been super exciting. Now, typically, he would have probably planned on releasing one every 6 months just to let people wrap their head around it and use it and build up all our testimonies and all of that. But because of COVID and everybody being kind of confined indoors, it caused us to really look at why are we waiting? You know, it's like we need these technologies so bad, so fast, and we're changing so many people's lives with it. So we kind of just dumped it on everybody, and now we're kind of teaching everybody how to communicate about it, what they're exactly doing. I know that, you know, we've spent 4 years now with HPT technology, and that's been super exciting. So let me share a slide with you that we'll talk a little bit about, you know, exactly who we are and what it's all about. I like to talk about Jay's passion for excellence. And, you know, you talk about somebody at 29 years old that's independently wealthy, never has to work another day in his life. And this man works harder than anybody I know. You know, doesn't need to, but really is on a mission to change healthcare as we know it, and know that we have the secret. You know, it's like the fountain of youth. We have tapped into it with our technology, and we can really help people achieve such a higher state of well-being. And he's been honored for that. He's been tried to be bought out for that. And he knows that if a big company bought him, these socks would be $150 a piece minimum, you know? And so, you know, or the tech, it could be $20, $50 a day. If people are really suffering and they can do that naturally, they would. But he just would never let it get into the wrong hands to ever let that happen, and wants to always make sure that we can afford to put this on people every single day of their life. In fact, we can't afford not to have it, you know, and that's what it all boils down to. So we are a wearable neurotech company. And with that, we have 5 different products that are truly amazing. Now, our first product that we launched with that we all know is Vox HPT Human Performance Technology. This one literally clears the pathway to the brainstem. And so it opens up broadband areas 1, 2, 3, and 4, which literally were the very first part of our anatomy to define itself as something other than a bunch of identical cells. We became a primitive streak and a nodal cord, which is that brainstem, and it's broadband area 1, 2, 3, and 4. And its message from the day that happened, from differentiation, about day 15 into conception, it never tried to be anything else. And its whole message was learn, seek, grow, create, you know, and all of that. And our neurology grew out of that. So when we can free up that one special door into our brain, it's absolutely amazing. I like to use the analogy of everybody in a parking lot trying to get into a concert, and there's like 30 doors available to let people in, but 3 doors are open. And so the line is way backed up and it's getting very congested and people are starting to get a little antsy. Next thing you know, the concert starts. We can hear the music from outside. We get very frustrated now and we just can't get in fast enough. Next thing you know, all 30 doors open. What do you think that entire line does? It disperses and everybody runs to a free door, and that crowd gets in there as fast as possible. When you put this tech on your body, and I don't care how you do it, if it's on a patch, if it's on your feet, in your shoes, or on socks, or in your underwear, or on a knee brace, or however you choose to make that work, it literally opens up all 30 doors in that brainstem. And everything in your body that's been screaming to get some attention finally gets the message into the brain. And guess what? Help comes out just as fast. So we literally open up that pathway. So this is the most unique one out of all of our techs because it has the ability to change your brain on average about 36% more information in and out of that brainstem. So let's say it only needed 10% to clear the brainstem. It's got an extra 26% to go to the area that needs it the most. And that's the most beautiful thing about HPT. And that's why that's the most important product that we have and why that has to stay on our bodies at all times. Now, past that, every other one of these 4 technologies that we are so blessed to have access to literally target one specific area of the brain each, and that's all they ever do. They do not adapt. They do not go find and seek and find the next best area and continues to help us to evolve. It continues to target one specific area of the brain, or 2 or 3 or 4, but a very specific area of the brain. And the more we wear that tech, the stronger that area becomes. So it does create neuroplasticity over time. And the more we can wear this tech, the better our reflexes, our immune response, our neural response, the better all these pathways, the vagal response to our gut, the better all these pathways work and continue to fire so we can literally thrive. So the cognitive boost technology, that was our second product. And this targets over 10 cognitive networks. Think of it as the front of our brain, which is our thinker that makes decisions all day long. And it also targets the back of your brain, which is your occipital lobe. And that part's more for memory and for visualization. And so talk about creativity. You got visualization, pattern recognition, memory, recall, speed, accuracy, decision-making. These are all things of cognition. So this is one that you have to be mindful of trying to do something with your brain in order to really feel and see the benefit of that. And so the beautiful thing is when HPT gets on into the game and it takes care of some of the frontal cortex with its extra, now all of a sudden eSmarter comes in and says, hey, I got that frontal cortex, you're covered. I got the back of the brain too. Go find something else to do. So then we see the HPT fill in the sides or fills in the next best area. It's truly amazing how they can all synergistically work together and help us literally enhance our brains. Now, if we lived in utopia, our brains would be enhanced, but we live in an environment where we're constantly bombarded by electric smog, bad energy, bad food, chemicals, poisons, toxins, air. We're in a society, unfortunately, that our cells are taking a major insult all the time. And in fact, it's so hard to keep our cells super healthy. And in most cases, the next version of our cells are a little bit older and a little bit less happy than the previous version. So when we can do things and enhance our neurology and enhance our body to literally keep making the next version of ourselves better, oh my goodness, why would we ever take these things off our body? We need these things so importantly and so imperatively in so many parts of our life in order for us to continue to be excellent in all that we do and to literally thrive. So then we have the Neurovax. Now this was the next one that was released, and this one targets broadband area 24 and 25, which that's your vagal connection to the brain and the gut. Okay, and so that's very important. And it also different parts of the midbrain and right above the brainstem that literally regulate your central nervous system response and neural reflexes and how we react to things from our environment that make it in, the foreign elements and the pathogens and the toxins and all of that. This is all about the blood. So our Neurovax restores physiological homeostasis, and that is a very beautiful thing. Everything else is neurological. This one's physiological. This literally, we see the blood change in just as soon as an hour on most people. And we can maintain healthy functioning blood, even in the presence of EMF and subpar food. Not that it's an excuse to go out and expose yourself to things and eat things that aren't healthy, but it's nice to know that we have things that do protect ourselves and do protect our blood, because life is in the blood. It's the second most important system we have in our body. Then we have our REM patch, another very exciting product. And this targets very specific parts of the brain that literally allow your brain to go into REM sleep, where you're dreaming and your brain is healing, and then deep sleep, where you're not dreaming, you're literally knocked out, really deep into sleep, not easily woken up. And this is when your body does the healing. So literally 75% of all the new cells that you're going to create in one 24-hour period is going to happen during those 2 phases of sleep. And most people never get into them or get into them long enough or often enough throughout the night. It's not like we just go into one stage and stay there until we get it, and then go into the next day until we get it, and then we're done sleeping. we only spend a little bit of time in each of these stages, and we cycle many times through them throughout the night. Now, the deep sleep is usually the first half of the night that we're going to get more into that. And once we accomplish enough body healing, then the second part of the night is REM sleep. But you have to go through REM to get to sleep, to get to deep. And so too often people are woken up from a noise in the room, the temperature in the room, the light in the room, too many things interfering with their ability to stay in their sleep zone. And they come out of that sleep into a light sleep, and then they try to get in and keep coming back out. And the result is a very unrestful sleep, a restless sleep, we call that. And you wake up just exhausted. And now how good are you going to do today? You have to feel good, and then you look good, and then you go do good. So this is a sleep patch that is truly one of the most remarkable things I've ever seen for sleep. I have been trying to study insomnia. Most of my patients that are brain and spinal trauma patients don't sleep. They all suffer from insomnia, and that's secondary to all their injuries or their pain or all their dysregulation. And so we've tried so many things over the years, and a lot of things work for a lot of people, but nothing really works for everybody. I've never seen anything that consistently works. And we can see this, it only takes 30 minutes to kick in, and then we see literally people doubling their deep and doubling their REM sleep the first time they use it. And this is something that you can consistently get a good quality sleep. Excuse me. So then the last piece of technology that we just dropped last month is the Meta Patch. In this one, we don't have all the supporting videos and everything on this one yet, because we're still doing different studies on this. But what we're seeing is a lot of times people, they try to do all the right things with their diet and exercise and what have you, and they might lose a few pounds here and there, but they just plateau. And no matter how perfect they are and what they're doing, they just can't burn the calories. And so, or they just can't drop any more weight. And so their metabolism stays stagnant or plateaued. So what we're seeing with this amazing product is it's stimulating the parts of the brain that literally regulate that metabolism. So we're seeing more calories burned without increasing the heart rate or making people jittery, like so many things happen when you try to take different types of diet supplements to help increase fat burn. A lot of times it's giving you tachycardia and it's making you jittery and on edge. And so again, a natural approach to just help the neurology in the part of your body that regulates that, to try to help you get past and over that hump of wherever I've plateaued in my health diet regimen. I honestly believe that 95% of all people's conditions and problems can be helped with diet alone, if they had the discipline to eat right and consistently eat right and make the things matter, like the pesticides and the chemicals and all of that. Now, we have patches on that help our body respond to that better. So I feel a lot more comfortable on when I have to travel as much as I travel. It's hard to know, even if I'm eating in a really nice restaurant, am I really getting organic? Is it really pesticide and chemical free? What are they cooking it in? I mean, there's so many things that we all take care of that when we're making our own food. But when we're out and about, again, what are we doing to protect ourselves? And so the fact that we have a wearable technology for almost anybody's needs is truly amazing. And we're going to continue to come out with more and more products. Jay has like 18 different products, I think, the last time he was talking to me about it. And so, as all of these become a household name and become easier to understand, and bottom line is results. You can talk to people all about the brain stuff and how cool it is and all about these 40-some thousand video testimonies and how great they are. But if people don't experience it and don't have a result, they're not going to make it part of their life. And I don't care about trying to sell a pair of socks to somebody or trying to have somebody demo something. I care about their livelihood and their future. And I want to set them up for success and make sure that it's a simple task. That people spend a lot of money on a lot of things. For the price of going out to dinner with your family, you can be set up with several pairs of this technology that would last you for months and be covered every single day. There is so much value in that. And so we have to stop having the mindset that, it's all about socks and insoles. It's about technology, people. we have neurotech that we can touch somebody with, and in touching them with that, it creates a signal. And that signal is encoded by the brain, filtered, and then decoded back into the nervous system for our benefit. And when it does that, amazing things happen in our neurology, and our bodies work like they're supposed to work. People just are so accustomed to accepting life as it is, and this is just how it's going to be, and I always need this cane. I've needed this cane for 10 years. Hey, well, let me show you something. You don't need it anymore. Put a patch on them and watch them walk away. Once they find the real value of what this neurotech is offering them, when we come in the back door and be like, you know what, I can even save you money. Usually this is $2 a day. We've put it into the highest quality hosieries and clothing line things that will make it easy for this to last years for you. And so let's just get you set up with success, because I want you to have this benefit all the time. So then people say, okay, well, which ones do I do? Do I do this one all the time, this one part-time? What's the deal with that? Do they interfere with each other? Is it okay to wear them all at the same time? Do I really have to wear 5 patches or 4 patches and a sleeve all the time? And it's like, well, you can, absolutely. There's absolutely no benefit to taking it off other than the fact that you want to give your arm a break. Other than that, I think of it this way, you know, and I originally sought out, once I was a true believer in what HPT was doing, it made sense. That is in the inner circle of things that myself and my family will do every day for the rest of our lives. That's just a no-brainer. Then we learned about eSmarter. Now, eSmarter is truly amazing. My golf game has improved so much. It's so consistent. All the things that I do of sports and cognition, and even being a doctor when I have to do consult after consult and all these reports, I have that sleeve on because it just helps me just stay in the game, stay focused, think of exactly how I'm supposed to respond to people and so forth. So this isn't 24/7 for me yet, just because I can't keep it on my arm that long before I just feel I have to take it off. So I wear that as needed, but I love it when I do. Okay. And so, and again, that's cognition. Do I really need it to sleep? Do I really need it to watch TV? It's not really going to have a big improvement for you in those areas. However, as long as you're wearing it, is enhancing the neurology in the front and back of your brain. So it is helping grow new tissue and to make those areas stronger all the time. So there would be a benefit if we can keep it on longer. Now, when it comes to Neurovax, when I first learned about this, and I remember Jay telling me about it before it was even produced, but just saying, listen, you're going to put this on people that have been in bed for months, and within an hour or a day, they're going to get up and be like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. What did you do to me? And I kind of chuckled. I'm like, I just love your passion, Jay, and I love your confidence that this is going to work as well as you say it's going to work. But how is it doing that? Like, what's it actually doing? What can I test to validate to prove that? And he's like, well, this is physiological homeostasis. So sure, we can do the brain map because that regulates everything, including your physiology. But why don't we look at the blood? Because the blood talks about the function of what's going on in the body. And so I'm not sure if everybody's seen the Neurovax slides for the whole Neurovax presentation, or how much time we have, Terry, in what you really want me to spend time going on, but I could go more into that or into more of the sleep slides.
Well, Dr. Mark, I think anything that we can cover, and those that want to stay on, stay on. We don't often get you. So now that we got you and technology's working, I think anything that you can share, certainly with regards to each individual patch or each individual modality, then that would be good. And I think the blood, because this call has a lot of guests on it tonight too.
Okay.
It's not just associates, we have guests and customers on here. So take all the time you need.
So I'll run through some brain studies real quick for each product, okay? And that will kind of help people wrap your head around, you know, does this work really? I mean, okay, so when we're looking at the brain, there's parts of the brain that are controlling about 2,000 pieces of data a second, and that's your conscious control. And then there's the core that's 400 million pieces of data per second. Your conscious mind can't even comprehend what that means. Okay, and so there's so much happening below the surface. And the majority of all of our tech, 95% of what it's doing is in the subconscious, unconscious, autonomic. It's in the white matter. It's in the myelinated sheaths that are traveling 160 to 200 miles an hour. It's processing so many million pieces of data. 95% of the changes we're seeing happens there. You're not consciously aware of that. So you have to wear the tech long enough to just see the next version of all your cells be healthier than you are now. But we want to know, what does it make me feel different? How do I know it's doing something, okay? Brain mapping is completely objective, which means nobody's telling me how they feel. There's no subjective data entered into these equations. It's like taking an x-ray. You can't hide your bones when I take an x-ray. They're gonna be there and I'm gonna see what they look like. Okay, so the brain maps are no different. So with the HPT, we told you that this can go anywhere in the brain where you need it the most. Well, this person's brain's very slow. This is an elderly person. This is somebody that, you know, you're asking them a question and there's always a delay in them responding to you. Okay, and it's not even like they're thinking. What are you thinking about? Nothing. They're really thinking about nothing. There's not a whole lot of activity going on. They could be happy and content, but there's just not a lot going on. And we see this wake up. Oh my goodness, this is like you just took 10 years off this person's life. How about a person that's a little stressed out and has a little overactivity? This is bombarding those signals. This makes things confusing. It doesn't make it easier. Or is not better in this scenario. And so it has the ability to target the areas in your body, not just your brain, but the areas of your body that have been damaged, that you've been trying to heal, that have been compromised, or you adapted around. You might feel old injuries within the first few days of putting this tech on you, because it's going to find things that were never quite healed all the way and try to help you take that to the next level. When we look inside, like I mentioned, your ability to share information through the core of your brain, through every one of these broadband areas and all these networks that regulate every aspect of your neurology, that's so important. And when we see yellows and blues, this is both ends of the spectrum. This is not healthy. This is very confusing, and it's very unpredictable on if they're going to understand what you said or didn't understand it. We put the Vox technology on, and coherence is gone. I mean, it's like, it's all back online. All the dysregulation is gone. The fewer lines, the better. Okay, and so ideally there should be no lines left if it was functioning the way it's supposed to function. This next category is information flow. This is just sending information from A to B. How fast does it get there? Is it within normal range? If so, the line doesn't show up. If there's a lag time in there, it's going to be blue. And if it's yelling, like you're in a crowded room trying to talk to somebody, like Diane was saying in her examples, that is going to show up yellow. This is confusing the person, and it's just hard to make a decision and know what I want. Here is an ADD autistic child who is just lit up. This brain is so active. He's processing 20 plus things at the same time and super actually physically active. We put the patch on. He finally did a couple spin arounds and sat down. The mom looked at me and was like, can I have 1,000 of those? Where do you get those? How do I keep those? I can never run out of that. What is that? I mean, it's so exciting to see people that are really experiencing some extreme nervous system issues and to see it come back online so fast and give them hope again that it's going to last. Now, we started a study a few years ago on the long-term use of this. And so I do a lot of neurofeedback, and so I understand how to regrow tissue in the brain and how it's permanent once we get it there. And so literally we've done maps on over 30 people now that have worn the tech for over 8 months. And now we got a lot of people over 2 years that we've actually been able to map and track. And so it's super exciting. And so here is, you know, people that have seen this before. This is a hockey player. From 4 times too fast to 2 times too fast. It calmed down halfway in 10 seconds. And then 8 months later, this is without the socks. So wearing the socks for that long helped finally bring his whole brain back online. This is the side view of the same thing. So over time, the longer you wear these, and every one of these 30 people we've looked at, and they're not out there doing all sorts of other things to try to help their brain. And brains usually don't get better ever. They're slowly getting worse every year. And so these are the same cells you were born with, same cells you're going to die with, and they're not regenerating at will like all the rest of the cells in your body have a timeline that they're going to survive, and then they have to regenerate. And so our brain isn't like that. So to see changes like this is really, truly amazing. So let me stop the share, and then we'll pull up eSmarter. So now this was the second product, and eSmarter shows up, and it has even a stronger punch than the first product. The first product is 36% on average. looking at all the maps we put into the study. This product is really about cognitive boost, like I mentioned. It's improving focus, attention, clarity, mental stamina, your decision making, making you know what you want and you know what you don't want, you know, very quickly. So think of this product like putting a bigger antenna on your car. You can drive further out into the mountains or into the desert away from the antennas and still hear your songs without static. This helps that brain connect all those areas of cognition. So the study we did on this is also in the back office, and there's a study on the HPT there as well. We actually had 61 patients in this study, 244 brain maps. Average age was from 18 to 81. So the majority, about half of the people were between 20 and 29 years old. 28 of the people fit into that category. And it was pretty much split male, female, 27 and 34. So this was remarkable. It actually was 41% change in overall neurology. Looking at an entire brain, if I just looked at the frontal and occipital lobe, it would have been like 80%. But we're looking at overall brain function by just changing those two lobes, because so much of our networks lie in those lobes, 41% overall brain. And so I've been very fortunate to spend a couple years traveling around the world, meeting really famous people, professional athletes, musicians, gamers, all sorts of golfers, and you name it, putting it to the test to see, does this help your game? Can it take a professional person who's at the peak of their game, on top of their world, and improve them? And you know what? It did it every single time for 3 years. It's the most exciting product to be involved with. And so we did, in that study with all those people and all those maps, there was 12 hours of intermittent fasting before the map. Nobody ate that morning, just drank water. So they came in pretty clear-headed and focused, hadn't been able to wear any Vox technology for 24 hours before this test. So no HPT in the system at all. It's strictly just cognitive boost technology alone. What we're seeing is phenomenal. So here's a back of the brain that's lit up on somebody. We see that calm right down. Here's a concussion. Injury in the back. The blue is all in the front, where the brain bounced back off the front of the brain and came back and sheared the two different types of tissues and creates a lot of blue. That concerns us more than the red any day. We see that sleeve come in. It fixes front and back. Calms the back down, wakes the front up, returns them both to green. Green is homeostasis. We see coherence. We talk about how well can I comprehend things and share. Remember, Jay's kids came home from college and says, Dad, all my friends have to take drugs to study. And he's like, you're not taking drugs, are you? And they're like, no, we're not. But why do they have to take drugs to study? Can't you do something to help them? Can't you put a piece of tech on them that can help them not need to take drugs to study and have focus? That was the birth of eSmarter. So coherence, all this confusion, trying to read things, you're recognizing all the words, but it's just not, I'm not getting the big picture of things. I might have to reread something. With coherence, it's like, I got it the first time through, I can teach it to you. Okay, it is so remarkable to see that change. Raw information flow, again, highs and lows, we don't like to see in the same picture. It's tremendous how much that can clean up. We look at all the networks in the brain, 131 Broadband areas, close to 200 networks, and looking at all at the same time, very rarely can we see through these purple dots. We improved cognition by 80%, improved the whole brain function by close to 80% with this individual by just putting a sleeve on their arm. And they're like, what did you do to me? I feel like so different. I'm like, well, what do you mean different? It's like, I don't know, maybe like actually present, and I'm not thinking about where I'm going next and what I just did and what I got to do tomorrow and all the things that are stressing me out from the past. I'm like here, and like everything's quiet. Like I'm still and I'm present. And this is really a remarkable feeling. So what does that look like in networks? Well, here's an anxiety network, which means every one of these purple dots in the network has to send a line to every dot in the network so that I can have all the information I need to not feel signs or symptoms of anxiety. When I start seeing lines pop into the picture, most likely that person's feeling a lot of anxiety, especially if they're blue and red lines at the same time. Again, both ends of the spectrum. We see on the right, completely chilled like a pickle. We come over here, depression network. Again, having a hard time motivating themselves and waking up. We see over here, most of those lines disappeared. We see attention. This is, Dad, I got friends that can't focus. They can't study. They need to take something in order to calm their brain so they can study. Okay? This is exactly what you wanted that drug to do. But let me let you in on a little secret. If you take the drug and you're studying, the engine still looks like the image on the left. You just don't feel it. Okay, you're still having your foot on the gas and the brake at the same time, and the engine's still racing inside. And as soon as the drug wears off, guess what? You don't retain any of that because it's right back into this. You never left the zone. You just masked the symptoms. So you basically demuted the brain or calmed the brain down enough so that I'm not so distracted by 20 voices in my head or 20 things going on that I want to stay focused on. And then all of a sudden, we have something that is drug-free, chemical-free, electric-free, that can change the brain like that so fast. This is really upsetting to a lot of people in the medication world because, you know, they rely on people getting on those meds and staying on them for the rest of their life. And there's a time and a place for those. I'm not saying there's not, but the time is not forever. And the place is not every single day for the rest of my life, okay? We can fix the brain, and this technology can do it on a daily basis over time and get them there. Okay, ventral attention is how fast we pivot that attention and change. Executive functioning, this says, okay, well, you know, my working memory, mental flexibility, and self-control. How does that all work? Can I start a project and actually take on the project through completion? Or do I start a lot of things and never finish anything? Am I distracted all the time and never really have the discipline and mental focus to get through it? So that's your executive functioning network. We see so many lines here and half the line's gone. Which brain do you think is going to function better, adapt better, and get through my daily tasks in my job and whatever it is that I have to apply myself to, of course. So here's the question I get most often. Vox Life versus CBT. What's the difference? What are they each doing? Can I wear them at the same time? Obviously, the answer is yes. I mentioned this whole scenario earlier. I'm going to show you the actual visual now. So here's the patient with a concussion. Hitting the back of the head, the front's all blue. When we put eSmarter on, it fixes front and back. Remember, that's what it does. It fixes front and back. It doesn't do anything to the brainstem or the midbrain. It just goes right to the front and back. So 41% change in this brain. And you can see how beautiful the front and back turn green. However, the sides are still blue. But its job isn't doing the sides. So then we took the sleeve off, waited a little bit, put the patch on. The patch did brainstem first and had enough left over to wake up the front and calm down the back, but not enough to make the back green. It kind of ran out of juice before it finished balancing both front and back. It just didn't have enough left. So when we added the sleeve back on and then mapped 20 minutes later, the socks took care of the sides, the sleeve took care of front and back. This individual used both of those technologies to get a perfectly green brain, versus one or the other helped a lot, but not all the way. So again, HPT has the wonderful ability to adapt. It says, oh, you got the front door, I'll take the sides now. I don't need to spend all my energy here. I'm going to go somewhere else and give you some benefits elsewhere. And it's not just surface. This goes all the way through to the core and all the stuff that you don't even realize is happening, meaning all of the networks. So stop that one. Let me pull up another. Neurovax. All right. This is a super, super exciting product. When I first was introduced to this one, I thought it was just going to be when I'm feeling a little under the weather or when I'm traveling, I'm around a bunch of strangers and I just want to protect my immunity. I need to use it as an immune system booster. And so after I saw what it did to my own blood, I realized this is a regulator, not a booster. It can be a booster for somebody that only wants to use it when they're feeling sick. But if you do wear it every day, you're going to see the true benefit in regulating the functionality and the homeostasis of your blood. So we can talk a little bit about, white blood cells. We have several different types of white blood cells, and we'll see these in the actual diagrams. But really what we see happen the quickest is the red blood cells. Now, a red blood cell is supposed to live for 90 days. If it's damaged, what good is it going to do for the next 90 days if it stays damaged, right? So we want to make sure that we keep our red blood cells as healthy as possible all the time. Now, three typical things happen to our red blood cells. Either a bacteria hits it and breaks the wall open, it destroys the wall of the red blood cell, or something like free radical oxidation will make it look like a bottle cap. You see that in the middle. And then if the red blood cells feel damaged in any way or threatened in any way, or EMF exposure, things like that, we're going to see the condition called rouleau. And this is where they get sticky and they start stacking together like a roll of coins. So in any case, the red blood cells are not functioning the way they should. We're not diagnosing a condition or a pathology here. It's simply the functionality of your blood. So if we can take any of these damaged blood and return it to a beautiful homeostasis blood, that is going to be the goal. And that's what we see happen with this. And so here's somebody that has a lot of free radical and a lot of rouleaus going on. We see an hour start to break up. We see the burst cells in there that look like little spikes and thorns. That's still free radical damage, but we do have some healthy white blood cells. Now, this is dark field microscope. So 12 hours later, you're seeing under the dark field imagery again, looks 3D and you can see the color to it. If you take the light away and make it two-dimensional, you're seeing the images on the right. But this is remarkable. This is 12 hours and we're seeing this happen pretty much in everybody. I would say 80% of the people within the first hour, the rest of the people within 12 hours. I've only had one individual that it took 3 days of wearing the patch before I saw the bad disruptive pattern break and it turned into a nice, beautiful, function-looking blood. So here's another person, baseline 1 hour, 12 hours, 24 hours. So I think Diane was mentioning on the call earlier how we did that with her and her husband, and we saw changes in as simple as an hour on Jack, which was very exciting. And then the next time they came in, they had already been wearing it for, you know, a few days. And so we got to see how beautiful and how better the blood was functioning in that aspect. So then we look at brain maps during those same intervals that we took blood. We did map and blood at the same time, each time we did that. So surely we see a healthy brain or an unregulated brain get a little healthier and turn very healthy within just 12 hours. And so that's incredible. And then when we look at strictly Brodmann area 24 and 25, so I don't want to confuse you. This isn't looking at the whole brain. We looked at 2 Brodmann areas out of 131. All right, so just those 2 areas, I'm asking, how well do those 2 areas communicate with the rest of the brain in your neurology? So if there's a dysregulation between them, we see lines here, meaning that it's too slow. So within an hour, we saw a yellow line kick in, one too fast, and then we saw a couple other ones kick in. So obviously something was changing at those Brodmann areas, but within 12 hours, they were perfectly clear. And so we see a lot of dysregulation in this area. So this person has a lot of gut issues. This Brodmann areas control your gut, and it's that vagus nerve, that gut-brain connection. And so as that specific Brodmann area starts to come back online, hey, it's communicating better through the vagus nerve. We're seeing the sharing of information get better and better 12 hours in. And so we also look at the amygdala, the hippocampus, and the subthalamus. These are all areas that are regulating that neural reflex and immune response to your spleen and to these areas of the brain. And so again, we see initially there was a lot of blue lines connecting those hypothalamus. So what we're seeing here on the top is the 3-dimensional image of the actual Brodmann areas that are too slow or stop talking. Down below, I just flattened the skull and we're looking from the top down at a 2-dimensional image of the same thing. All right, so here we're seeing lines stacked up 3-dimensionally. Here they're just flat, but we can see less lines and less blue, which is the most important. And then we see the brain and everything back on track. And this is why people will get up out of bed in a day and be like, what do you did to me? What have you done to me? I feel so good. Like I feel better than I have in a long time. It's simply these 5 areas of the brain that have been targeted, and Control-Alt-Delete happened in those areas. So whatever was hanging up the neural communication, it freed it up just like that. And it started to say, hey, oh, that's what you needed. Oh, I thought you needed something different. I just sent the right soldiers on the way to help you. We got these white blood cells tagging all the bad cells that you found. Now that the crowd cleared, basically it allows our red blood cells to do social distancing, and it opens up those red blood cells, and now they can carry oxygen and nutrients, and whatever tissue they're bumping into, they're exchanging all of those beautiful things like oxygen and nutrients. And then they're grabbing the metabolic waste and pulling it back out of there. So that is a neural reflex. It's an immune reflex. It's an immune response. It's all the above. And so the sharper we can make those lines of communication, stay on the phone with me, stay on the phone. It's not letting the spleen and the vagus nerve hang up and say, I'll get back to you in a little while. It's like, no, no, we got live comms now, and we're staying talking throughout this whole crisis, because I told you about the one guy, but I got 12 other things I got to tell you about because they're happening right now. That kind of in-touch communication to our neurology, oh my goodness. You're going to see absolute miracles take place. We see blood pressure drop. We see diabetes, or I don't want to say conditions. We see people that have blood sugar issues start to regulate better. We see people that have different expressions of stress and sadness. We see that come right off, just because, again, these are how well can I get the blood to the chemicals to these areas that are going to release hormones that are going to make me feel a certain way. Okay, that's all immune responses. So your immunity and your emotions and how you're feeling really tie nicely into each other, and they do play a role together. And so when we can know that we're changing the brain like this, and we're changing the blood like we're talking about, that's truly amazing. You don't really even have to understand how it works. Just put the patch on somebody and say, don't take it off. I had my son just got a new place because he's getting married next month, and his landlord said that his wife just had an operation and she's going to have to stay in bed. She's 80 years old and she's going to have to stay in bed for 6 to 8 weeks. And I went out to my car, I grabbed a pack of Harmony patches and a pack of Neurovax patches. And I says, I am a doctor and I work at a hospital here in Denver. Go inside and put these on your wife. There's no drugs or chemicals here, and she'll start feeling better by tomorrow. And he was so grateful and thankful, didn't have to know what it was or how it worked. One second, rain's coming in my window. Flash flood just happened here in Colorado. I get a call from him a few days later. I don't know what you gave me, or he called my son. I don't know what your dad gave me, but tell him thank you. And she's feeling incredible, and she's feeling so much better already. And so that is where it's at. And once our studies get published, you know, that we're all waiting from the hospitals and so forth, then this will be a household name. But also think of every person that ever goes into the hospital for any reason. We can calm you down and help you relax as soon as you get here, so we can really get a good idea of what's going on, and we're not, you know, getting misinformation because of your stress and everything else that's going on right now. But also the Neurovax, knowing that, you know, wouldn't it be neat if a hospital actually said, we trust your own body and its amazing power to heal more so than our drugs and surgery. So we're going to put this on you first to see what you can do. And then we'll see what we can actually do to help keep you alive and survive and thrive. But this really is going to be a standard of care where before any operation, before, you know, any type of anesthesia, they're going to realize that, oh my gosh, this is going to help them regulate that anesthesia better and be more consistent with it. And it's probably going to save a whole lot of lives, because people do die from anesthesia as an unfortunate side effect. And so as people are learning that they can do things like this to get better, it's going to be the first thing they think of when they hurt themselves, just like we used to think, I cut myself, I need a Band-Aid. Like, where's the Band-Aids? It's going to be like, ouch, where's my Vox patch? It's like, I'm not feeling well, where's my patch? We're going to have a medicine cabinet that opens up, instead of pills, it's going to be 5 different patches, you know, that we're going to need. Well, you need this one, honey, it's sleep time. Or you need this one because you have a cough today. Let's make sure you're covered. So that's super exciting. So let me pull up, seeing as we're on a roll with all the patches, I am going to stop that share. Let me grab the sleep one and show you some of that real quick. You know what, I gotta find that somewhere else. I didn't think we had this much time, Terry, so thanks for letting me just kind of
Hey, Dr. Mark,
Morning, Terry.
we're all just so grateful. And the amazing thing about these technologies, as we say, is we are really evolving, and we're really, I mean, 4 years. That's all we are into this. And you think about the traction, and you think about the people that we have helped with their quality of life in just 4 years of well over 5 million people. I mean, we really haven't even gotten into momentum with what we have. But the exciting thing is, as you said, is this will become a household name. This will become, something that is just common household wearables for, everybody in the world. And that's what's really exciting. And everybody that's on this call, associates, customers, even the guests that are on this call, we're excited to have you join us. We're excited to have you get this technology on. And as you alluded to, Dr. Mark, Jay's mind doesn't stop turning. That wheel does not stop turning. And he's got more exciting things as he continues
Oh, yeah.
to release. So that's really exciting. So no, we're grateful you're here, and please continue. Those that you have to leave, this call is recorded, and it will be placed in the Team Vaccination Facebook page. So please continue. It will be available for everybody.
You still there, Terry?
Yep, still here.
I think I lost you, buddy. I don't hear you. Hold on a second.
You should be able to hear me.
I hear you back now. I lost you there for a little bit, but you're back.
Yeah, great. No, so we're happy to have you. No, please continue. I think we're
Okay.
all really enjoying this. Thank you.
All right, guys. So the REM patch, it's a big issue. Over half the world struggles every single night to get enough sleep. And as I mentioned, that's when you're doing most of your healing. How much sleep do we really need? Well, it depends on your age. Typically, the younger we are, we need more sleep because we're growing so much. And especially those first 3 years, you're doubling in size every 6 months for the first 3 years. So you need 14 to 17 hours of sleep during that time because you're doing so much growth. And remember, when you're sleeping is when you're laying down the tissue. All the construction workers take a break during the day, and there's very little tissue being laid down, with the exception of like lungs and gut and things that are important every 8 minutes or so are changing. So we have different stages of sleep. And it's important just to kind of understand the basics when we talk about sleep, because this is universal. Light sleep, you can easily be woken up. You're aware of different noises and things going on in the room, but you are kind of asleep. Over half your night is going to be light sleep. And in fact, every time something does wake you up, you stay in light sleep for a little bit before you cycle back down into sleep. Now, when you get into deep sleep, this is exciting because deep sleep, you're like knocked out. You can tap the person, you can yell their name, and they're not waking up. This is when they're pretty much unconscious and their body goes into healing. So this is the body healing part. The REM sleep is when the brain does the healing. And this is when you're dreaming very vivid dreams. The red nucleus part of your brain kicks in and it literally paralyzes you so you don't start running and fighting the person next to you in bed thinking you're having a dream that you're fighting somebody. So literally these different parts of your brain have to activate in order to get you into this stage of sleep. And this is where your brain does the regenerating and the healing and the pruning of the bushes and the pruning of the trees. Your brain has memory of everything that you saw, and even things that you weren't aware that you saw, but it was in your vision. You could be hypnotized and go back to any day, any time in your life. You have a mastered record of everything that you've ever seen, and that'll always be stored in your brain. Outside of that, you have a short-term working memory area. In that area, you only have so many shelves up there to store stuff on. So every night you'll go in and you'll prune all the memories that are irrelevant, like all the cars you passed on the way to work and what color they were and the details of the things around you. Those didn't matter. I'm going to remember the people I talked to, the responsibilities I had, the exciting things that happened that day. And so I prune away everything else. Well, that happens during REM sleep. So if you're not getting into the REM sleep, you're just in a brain fog all the time and you're just, not rested when you wake up. And so So this is very important that we can cycle into that stage. So how do we track this? I have a ring that does it called an Aura ring, which is great. People have different bracelets and Apple watches and meters and pedometers that they put on their neck. And there's all different ways to track it, but just track it and see how consistent your sleep is, because it should tell you exactly when you shifted into each one of those stages, how many times throughout the night and what your overall total night's sleep was. So it's important that we also know how to get a better night's sleep is to avoid a lot of things that we know is easy to do. Turn the noise off, turn the lights off in the room, make sure it's a cold temperature and it's not too hot. Movement, people moving in the room, animals moving in the room, sleep positions, pillow placement, turning your Wi-Fi off in your room, turning your cell phone on airplane mode, just so it's not constantly checking every 15 seconds to update things. And every time it does that, it's going to interfere with your sleep. People that eat before they go to bed, or people that are living in pain, all these types of things interfere with your sleep. So outside of all those factors, I told you half the world struggles every night to sleep. So we take all these factors into a place, and guess what? A lot of people still can't sleep. Okay, and so then what do? Well, we can map and we can look at the areas of your brain that regulate your ability to get into REM or to deep sleep. So again, this is only those areas of the brain that regulate your sleep. And we're only talking about beta waves. These are the waves that when they're present during nighttime, you start thinking about things and you're ruminating and you just can't turn it off. Those are beta waves. So we see a person here ruminating in the back. Everything balances right out, blue and yellow and orangish alike. We see coherence of delta waves. So delta waves need to be the dominant ones, and they have to share information in order for you to get into the body healing sleep time, okay? Delta sleep is gonna be deep sleep. This is body healing. It's so important that we communicate well. So if we open up that network that shares all that information and we see the coherence 80% better, no wonder this person can turn their brain off and actually go to sleep. Okay, and allow delta to take over. If it's all dysregulated, delta's not going to take over. If it doesn't take over, you don't get into deep sleep, period. So you have to have a good functioning delta brain in order to get to deep sleep. This is targeting that exact area. We also want to look at theta waves. That's the other slow wave. Delta and theta are both slow waves, and theta is going to regulate your REM sleep. This is when your brain does the healing and your body's paralyzed. So theta needs to be dominant. You see the image on the left? Not very good coherence. This person had poor delta and theta coherence. And so again, they're not going to sleep. I don't care what you're doing. You can drug yourself, you can do everything else. It's still not good quality sleep. You're not getting the healing. If you're not getting the healing, you're never going to wake up refreshed. So we see REM sleep kick in nicely with the patch. So then we look at information flow. How well can we turn off the information? The alpha and the beta, those are your fast brain waves. We need to turn those babies off at night. And if we don't, we stay thinking. Like, I keep thinking of the same thing over and again. I just want to stop thinking about it. I don't want to think about it, but it's like on repeat mode. Okay, we see this calm down. And then of course the beta waves. The beta waves are the ones when you're just stressed out and you're anxious, anxiety, you're worried. You're probably worried about things you have no control over, like masks and quarantine and everything else. And that's going to make your beta waves just not calm down. When that happens, you never get into REM or deep sleep. Okay. And so it keeps you in that light sleep all night long. Look at how beautiful this brain on the right looks with all the chaos going. Just within 30 minutes of putting that patch on, we literally see these things happen. So the amygdala, it's the emotional center of the brain. And if you're feeling really emotional, it's going to drive either expression of the nervous system. And the net result is you're not going to turn your brain off and you're not going to get good sleep. So this is the amygdala. And this we see dysregulated. 30 minutes later, communicating just fine. We see the red nucleus. As I mentioned, this is the part just above the brainstem that literally paralyzes you so that you can't act out your dreams and hurt yourself and fall out of the bed or hurt the person next to you. So we see this also dysregulated. So they're restless in bed. We see within 30 minutes looking beautiful. We also see the subthalamus, same thing. In the um, subthalamus, dysregulated within 30 minutes, it's back on. And this helps, like the gear shifter. This is regulating your ability to go into each stage multiple times throughout the night. Once you get enough sleep in both of those categories, the deep and the REM sleep, you're going to just stay in light sleep for the rest of the night, however long that is. It doesn't matter, because you're fully charged and batteries are charged. It's like cell phone's already fully charged. You can keep it plugged in, but it's not necessary. You're going to make it, the rest of the night now is just making up for light sleep. Now we look at the default mode. Again, this is just those areas that we mentioned. It's only the broadband areas that regulate the foreman in charge of everything at night. And also, when the default mode has a whole bunch of lines, this means typically that that person spends a whole lot of time thinking about the future and the past and is really not present. They're checking out, they're daydreaming, they're zoned out. So we see a huge change in that as well. And the biggest thing we don't like seeing is blue, because we don't know, they stop talking when they're blue. Light blue is like they're slowing down, dark blue is like they stop talking. So we don't know if we can get them talking again. If somebody's yelling, we can certainly calm them down a whole lot easier than to get something that hasn't talked for a while. So to see all these blue lines turn yellow, that is super exciting. And again, you know, medications, supplements, oils, all of those things help a lot of people, but there's no magic bullet. There's not one thing that I see that helps everybody, because we all have different chemistry inside. But guess what? We all have the same neurology. So in doing 7,000 plus maps with and without this tech on, our neurology hasn't changed, right? And so if we're enhancing everybody's neurology, it's a 99.99999% change of everybody that puts this on is going to have some significant change in their neurology. And I don't currently know of anything in the world that does that. And so this is super unique. And I still do all the other things that I do to help me sleep. I just added this onto the program just to make sure I get it. So here's an example of the Aura Ring, and it kind of shows you the different colors. I was awake, and then I started to doze off, and you see me get into the REM, the light REM, and then the deep. Okay, and so we want that REM. So my average was typically an hour and 10 minutes of REM, and about 30 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes at the most of deep ever. That's all I've ever gotten in deep, is about an hour. But I'm averaging about 40, typically over a 2-week span. Once I got REM patch and started putting that on, my deep sleep jumped to 2 hours and 23 minutes to 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Every night I wear it, I'm getting more than double the deep sleep I've ever gotten. Now, granted, I've had a lot of body injuries and I've spent a lot of time recovering. And I think the last stage of my recovery was just some adaptions. I think there's still obviously a lot of scars and fused parts and bolts and computers inside me. So I'm thinking that I just really needed more body healing, and I was never able to get it. My REM sleep also, it improved about 15 minutes here, but I'm getting a good consistent close to 2 hours of REM sleep every night as well too. So if you can get 2 hours of deep and 2 hours of REM, you can literally live and thrive on 4 hours of sleep. It's just not typical you can get it in 4 hours. It takes you 6 to 7 hours to try to accomplish that, and so figure out what your sleep patterns are. Mark them, know, and keep track and take notes. Like, this is what I had for dinner tonight. And then that might relate to how you're sleeping, okay? Or really what you've eaten for the last 3 days will relate to how you're sleeping. But you can at least be consistently bad sleeper, however that looks. And then as you start to add the REM patch on, you'll literally see some great improvements with that. So it really is the key to a better quality sleep, and allow your body to do more healing while you are asleep. And that is really the key to everything. This technology, it's not just about the symptoms and the instant relief and the instant superhero it makes me. It's literally about the longevity of using the product and the continuing growing of new tissues in the areas where you need it the most. Let me just say that again for everybody listening, because this is a good way to wrap it up. These products are always going to work the best for you in the areas you need them the most. HPT is going to have the full reign of your entire body to run and create neuroplasticity and all of that. The other ones are going to help the key parts of your life and your lifestyle that allow us to stay healthy and thrive. And it's going to allow them to stay online longer and communicate better. And hopefully everybody that starts using this technology, especially that Neurovax, will say, I've never been sick since the day I put that on. I'm one of those people that have just never been sick my whole life. I don't ever get colds. I have a very good immune system. I've always eaten well. I've had very healthy parents that were health food freaks back in the 70s, that it was not cool to be a health food freak back then. But, you know, I used to hate not being exposed to Cokes and candies and cereal and all that. I could never eat any of that. And I felt so deprived. And then I got older and realized, wow, all my friends that grew up like that, they're sick all the time. And they have to go get medications and antibiotics. And I've just never been sick. So I'm so happy my parents were wise enough to teach me how to eat right. And eating is so important to everything. And so the fact that we have technology now that can help us make better choices to eat, digest our food better, and sleep better so we heal better. We use that food to make the new cells in our body. It really is a whole picture of what we offer. Wearable technology that can help everybody in a lot of different ways. And that makes it super exciting for people to, for new people to, you know, hear the news that something like this actually exists for one. I think of how I overcame all my injuries of head-on collision, snapped my pelvis in half, damaged my spine in 12 areas, 7 back surgeries, computer in my spine, remote control just to not feel anything, left me in a power chair saying, this is the rest of your life, deal with it. You know, be thankful for what you can do. If I just had that attitude, I'm thankful for what I can do and not focused on what I can do better, I would still be sitting in a chair and miserable and not be able to like read an email and respond to you, let alone get on a call and share passionate truths about neurotechnology with the world. I mean, I am just so grateful that A, I never stopped fighting, and that B, I found this because I've really made it my life's mission to help other people that were like me get better as well. And I know so many secrets and tools and tips that they're just not hearing about in average day-to-day talk and from their doctors. And you know, there's so many cool things like this product out there that if I had this back then, I would have not had to spend 17 years to get pain-free. You know, it would have been a much shorter journey and I would have had, you know, a more robust nervous system a lot quicker. But neither here nor there. I don't regret any of it. I'd go through it all again if it means that's what I have to go through to get to where I'm at today with the relationship I have with God, with my family, with myself, and with my health. And, you know, and Vox has been such a key part of that for so many years that I would be foolish to think that I am pain-free and fully rehabbed because of all the things I did. This is keeping me that way. If I go days without this, which I'm not willing to do, I'm sure I'd start to feel sore and achy for the 18-mile mountain bike ride I just took and golfing 3 times this week. And I'd feel all that stuff, but I don't, because I know how to enhance my nervous system and to keep it thriving and to keep it, you know, always growing into better performance, better efficiency, and better health. You know what? And I have a lot on my plate. I do a lot of things and help a lot of people. And I have to feel good to do that. And I have to look good to do that, right? And so when I feel good and look good, I can go do good. And each one of you guys can do that too. But if we're not feeling good, how much do I really feel like getting out into public and going and helping people? This is take care of yourself first, then your family, just like the air mask in the airplane. Put the air mask on yourself first, then take care of your family, then anybody else that needs help. So we have to be sold out for this, like it's the last thing we could ever do in our world is help this mission accomplish 1 billion people's better health, off medications, avoiding surgeries, avoiding hospital rooms, and avoiding all the unnecessary death that comes once people's health slips out of their grasp and out of their control. And we see too often parts of the brain that we could have changed if we just had a chance to get it a little bit sooner. And it's that same special part of the brain that's always the first part to go in dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, MS, Lou Gehrig's, all of those conditions. It's always this, the neural net, the delta theta dominant frequency that's above that brainstem that literally allows everything else to function above it. When that area goes kaput, that's the beginning of the onset of all the symptoms in this. It's like a cascading event that goes through the brain. So one of the things that the first clinical study we did on the HPT product was Dr. Thatcher admits in the white paper that this is crazy, because this is the only thing I've ever seen other than just brain training that helps dominant frequency, helps this delta theta part. And it literally, they're having to put new chapters in the textbooks in neurology because of that, because they said only neuroplasticity changes it. And there's no way that people grew a bunch of nerves in the 10 seconds after I put their brain on, their socks on and remapped their brain. So clearly there's another activation thing going on where some light switches have just been tripped in the nerves and they stopped firing, but we can just turn that light switch on and have instant activation. It's not about neuroplasticity and growing new tissue. So literally, people wearing this all the time, and this will be another long-term study we do, it'll avoid ever getting into any of those adult onset neurological devastating disorders that too many people suffer from. If they can wear this, that area will not go south. And if that area doesn't go south, those symptoms, conditions will never express themselves, ever. So we have a much bigger mission than just helping, you know, a billion people with their overall health. We need to save the whole generation of people that are suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's and all these neurological disorders where they had a healthy life and they worked really hard and they saved their money, they're getting into retirement, and now they don't remember any of it. And all their money's gone just like that on healthcare that's not fixing it. It's just managing it or maintaining, you know, safety for them. We need to fix these people. We need to fix all of us. We need to protect the parts of our brain before this ever happens. And it's so easy to do if we catch it early enough. So this is why my kids will be wearing this. They always have been, but why they continue to wear this. And they say, oh, they're 18 and 20 years old. Do they really have all this compromised neurology? You bet they do. They're breathing all the toxic air just like I'm breathing. They're around all the stress just like everybody else is. They're under home arrest with the quarantine and had to stay home and not go social and be with their friends. They experience the same stress, and their brains are sometimes more vulnerable than ours because, you know, we're at least conditioned to years of stress when it all comes down to it. But we need to protect them too. And so it's every age needs this, because we're all being insulted. Our cells are being assaulted all the time and are being compromised by our environment. And so this is something to protect our internal environment, to protect our health, and then it allows everything else that we do to be healthy. All that stuff works better when the tech is on us. I mean, so again, I can give you 100 reasons why I'm absolutely sold out for this. Think of Jay. He's known about it 10 years longer than me. I think about, I couldn't possibly love this company and love this product anymore. And then I think about how much Jay loves it. I'm like, well, yeah, I guess I have to stick around for 10 more years of loving it before I'll understand the magnitude of how much he appreciates, how many people we've already helped. Over 5 million people in 4 years. I mean, that's tremendous. And that's just you guys. Okay, we're not out there advertising and doing all this marketing. It's just you guys. This is word of mouth. And it's so easy to do because everybody has a need. So it's just a matter, are you the type of person that's just, you know, not too afraid or lazy or shy to pick up the phone and just reach out to somebody and connect and see how they're doing? You know, don't think about what you're going to say. It's not a script. It's not something that you need to plan. I'm going to say this and it's going to flow like this. It's never going to flow the way you want to. Just connect. Keep your mind empty. Say hi. Share a little bit of passion about why you love this and what you've been seeing and involved in the last year. And ask them if I could send you a pair, you know, or however that looks for you. It's not complicated. And people want this. They want it so bad. And it's simple. Okay, so keep it simple. Don't try to overcomplicate it. Yeah, I can make it super complicated with all the brain stuff. That's just to show you that, hey, it's working whether you think it's working or not. And we've proven that time and time again. And we've put some papers out to show you, you know, in studying thousands of maps, what this looks like. Okay, it's not just you know, me and my 5 friends, I asked them how they liked it, and now I'm going to run and build this thing. No, we have tens of thousands of testimonies. We have so many brain maps. We have so much data, and we've gone to the top doctors, the top people in the world, the most influential people out there, and we've gotten meetings with them, and we've shared this with them, and we've blown their mind every single time. I've never been in a meeting in over 3 years now that didn't go well. That wasn't like, wow, this is so great. Thank you guys. This is incredible. How do we get involved? I mean, what do we got to do about this? I mean, that says something in and of itself, that yet we have yet to have a customer that doesn't see the benefit, and yet to go present it to somebody of influence and have them not be like, oh my God, this is such a no-brainer. I would love to be involved with your mission.
And
And so
you know
that's
what,
what we're about.
you know what's so exciting about this too, Dr. Mark, is, you know, when you look at all the maps you've done with our different technologies, we see improvements every single time. And we know that, you know, people say, well, which ones should I wear? Which ones should I wouldn't wear? Wear all of them. Wear all of them. I mean, I know people that take pills for pain. They take pills for sleep. They take pills to try and
Take pills to feel good.
you know what I mean? So, you know, as you said, don't overcomplicate it. We see amazing things with, you know, with our technology every time, linking it to our neurology. And that's just so exciting to know. You know, for me, what it says to me is our neurology is so vast. It's just so vast. And trying to understand it is just such a journey. And I know from, you know, years ago, the first time that we talked and you talked, and to see your excitement, enthusiasm grow as a doctor is so exciting to see, because I know you as a person. I know I've stayed at your house a number of times. We're buddies. We play golf together. And I see your excitement and enthusiasm, and I start to see it in other practitioners. I start to see it in other professional people. Is really, really exciting to know that our journey truly has really just begun. And, you know, it's about just getting out there, like you said, and not complicated. Get it on people. Just wear it. And yes, we have, you know, one of the things I saw in here is some people say, hey, when I've worn the REM patch, I get nightmares. You know, I've experienced nightmares. And, you know, is that unwrapping, you know, something in the brain that might be stored away in that data bank that, you know, maybe you could just touch on that. It's one of the comments I've seen several times on here. So any thing to allude to that?
So it's not creating nightmares, it's creating vivid dreams. Okay, the nightmare is something that you're trying to process and understand because something in your beliefs and something with what's going on around the outside world are not lining up. And so your brain's trying to find the solution to that, and it's preparing you for worst case scenarios. So, you know, a nightmare is more of a psychology of how you're processing your stress. And, you know, are you suppressing something and holding on, and unforgiveness and that type of thing? That, you know, it's your mind giving you, you know, an outlook, you know, that is something that you need to pay attention to. It could be that. But the biggest thing I see in that scenario is they were never dreaming before for a long time. Like very rarely do they ever remember their dreams. If you don't remember your dreams, chances are you didn't get REM sleep, okay? Because REM sleep is where you have dreams. And if you can get into good, consistent REM for like an hour or two a night, you're gonna have amazing vivid dreams. And in fact, when you have vivid dreams, that's a sign that you've got a lot of healing that night. Despite if it was a stressful dream or not. I'm sorry that some people, you know, I can't control what your dream's going to be. You really can't control. Try waking up, blink your eyes and say, change the channel. And usually a different dream will start. You know, that helps. That was a little trick I did when I was a kid. But really, you should be jumping up and down at the fact that you're dreaming, because that's a huge sign that you're now comfortable in the stage of sleep where that happens. And that's a beautiful thing. That's when your brain does a lot of healing. So most likely you're not going to get nightmares consistently every time you're wearing the patch. But I would like input from people that do continue to have something like that. I
And I
would say take the patch off in the middle of the night if you have the nightmare, and then try to go back to sleep.
Sure. And I've also heard that, some people, when they first start wearing the REM patch, and I've seen both people because people get afraid that maybe their sleep isn't quite as good when they use the REM patch. And then I've seen people that say, yeah, I had that issue for a week or so, and then my sleep was just absolutely incredible. And so in some cases, they said I didn't have to sleep as long to feel better when I woke up.
Sure. So two things in that aspect. Number one, if you get into the good quality REM or deep sleep and you can sustain it for a good length of time, you're not going to need as many hours sleep. You're definitely going to wake up feeling more rested.
Sure.
Second thing is the people that actually didn't sleep well the first few nights. Imagine that you have a necklace that was thrown in a drawer and you pulled it out and it's all tangled up. And so you're like, oh man, I love this gold chain, but I gotta get these knots out. But it's a really fine necklace, so the knots are really hard to get out because it's all knotted up. Everybody's kind of had that experience.
Mhm.
Think of any one of our patches, the first time you're putting it on, you're throwing at the necklace saying, hey, I got a problem, can you fix it? And it's like, okay, let me try to manipulate this and pull it apart and reorganize it. And so the first few nights of restless sleep, you have some serious issues that it's trying to fix. And that's why you're having weird or inconsistent sleep patterns, but it'll figure it out. And once it untangles the necklace, it's going to give it back to you and say, now let's sleep. Okay. And so it sometimes stirs something up because it's trying to untangle it to get the information out of it. And it's a confusing process. You're a sum of all the traumas you've ever had up until this point. And we've just adapted around them. They change you every time, whether it's a physical, chemical, or emotional trauma, it'll change you. We learn to adapt around it. How
Sure.
we thought as we adapt around it and how healthy our thoughts are about the process will determine whether in the future our brain gets hijacked when something similar to that happens and I start behaving and acting a certain way, or I can process it differently and see things differently. And so, again, our tech's going to help us make better decisions and help us understand what's real, what's happening right now in front of us that's important, and what's not. And so, in many aspects, we just have to give the tech a little bit of time to work through the process. I had a patient just a couple weeks ago that has dystonia. And so it affects her face and her eyes. And so when I put the patch on her, immediately her eyes just shut. And she tried so hard to open them and she couldn't open them. And it was affecting the part of her brainstem that controls her eyes. And the eyes was the biggest part of her problem with her dystonia. So she left, we brain mapped her, and then she left and went out to dinner. And then she came back after dinner and brought her daughter to get mapped. And I saw that her eyes were still closed. And I'm like, so they didn't work it out. I told her the same thing, that the neurologist just trying to work it out, let it do its thing. And it had been 3 hours and it hadn't worked it out yet. And her eyes were still closed. And I'm like, do you want to have me open your eyes again? And she's like, I would love to open my eyes again. And I just grabbed the patch and pulled it off. And in 2 seconds, her eyes just popped open easily. And she's
Wow.
like, that's all I had to do for the last 3 hours? I'm like, I'm sorry, I should have told you that. But yeah, that's all you had to do. And so what I did is I gave her a whole stack of patches. And I said, for the next week, put these on. Your eyes will shut probably pretty quickly. But as long as you can tolerate it, wear it. Maybe put it on before you go to bed at night, because then your eyes are shut anyway. Let it work its way out. And so each day you'll find that you can last a little longer before that happens, and then eventually it's not going to happen. And that's when we're, game on. New things are changing and happening for you. And so she was really excited, and so she's in the process of weaning herself onto that now. But tell people that if you don't like the process, and it was a good process. She wasn't like afraid, like, what did you do to me type thing. She's like, oh my gosh, it's healing. Something's happening here. This is my eyes. She was actually very excited, waiting for it to re-regulate something. And so it just might take some time. We've seen so many amazing cases of people, and the bigger the neurological complaint or their neurological deficit, usually the more amazing the results are immediately and instantaneously and impressive. And so it's just trying to work out the complication and the details of it.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that the analogy of the chain really makes sense for a lot of the people, I'm sure, because, you know, untangling what has been taking years to tangle sometimes, you know, takes a little bit of time. And this isn't a, you know, jail sentence with this technology. It's a journey, and it's allowing, you know, your neurology to get back online. And sometimes that just takes a little bit of time. But aren't we blessed that we have this technology that's non-invasive, and it's as simple as putting on and off a patch to be able to do this. So that's really exciting. But I think, just for sake of time, Dr. Mark, to respect your time and people's time, as always, we are just very grateful to have you on the call. And I think what we'll maybe do is you and I will tee up something in the next couple of weeks or so, and we'll do a Q&A. We'll do a follow-up to some of the patching, and I'll set it up where the field can send me some questions, and I'll you know, I'll forward them off to you so that that you have the answers that we need, and we'll do a Q&A night, you know, for the field, because I know that people would love to stay on this call for hours and keep firing questions. I know that
no problem. I'm happy to come back anytime.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you. So we've had some amazing comments here. People are so grateful for your time, for coming on this call, and for sharing with the field and helping all of us understand the technologies and the parts of the brain that they're helping out, along with our base product, the HPT, which is certainly primarily most important to start with, for sure. That's our baby right there, which is brainstem. So we're very, very grateful. I'm going to, on behalf of the field, just thank you. And I'm going to just quickly unmute everybody, and we'll get everybody showing their appreciation, and we'll be able to say goodnight. And you and I will talk again real soon, and we'll set something up for the future. So thanks so much. You are all.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Thank you.
That was so great.
Thank you, everybody.
so much.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you, Dr. Mark.
Thank you, Doc.
Good job.